Hey, everybody. It's John here from Plaid Crafts, back for another Monday night. Happy to be here in the Michaels Community Classroom. And we have with us this evening, Andy Jones, who is going to be teaching the water lily painting. If you've taken one of Andy's classes before, you know what it's like. And if you haven't, you're in for a great treat because he is an amazing teacher and he's an amazing artist. So it's a lot of fun to learn from Andy, and it's a lot different than learning from Jesse or Kirsten. So if you're a regular here in the classroom, one of the great things to me is that you get to learn from a lot of different Plaid instructors, and it's a lot of fun. So again, it's water lilies. For those of you who are new to the Michaels classrooms, please know that these classes are being recorded and they are available to you after the class is over. Tomorrow or the next day. So one of the things that happens is sometimes people get a little behind on the pace, and that's just because we have to kind of keep going so that we can get this done sometime within about an hour or so time frame. So if you do find yourself falling behind, you can just stop and just listen and enjoy the class, participate with questions and so on, and then go back and watch it tomorrow or the next day and then paint at your own pace. It's one of the things we always advise folks to do. But since we're already running late, I don't want to blather on too long, so I'm going to turn it over here to Andy to start the class.
Okay, thank you so much, John. It's great to be back here in the Michaels Community Classroom. And tonight we will be painting our little painting of water lilies. This was, of course, inspired by the master of water lilies, Claude Monet himself. So it's a very fun, easy little painting. I will keep it here on the work surface so that you can see the painting while I am actually doing the painting. Now, I did this on a 6x6 canvas, and I hope that you all are working along on a 6x6 canvas. Don't try to do these paintings in grand scale, especially within an hour. You just simply won't have time to cover the canvas with paint in that amount of time. So if you're working along with me, we're going to be working on a 6x6 canvas. And I can tell you to save your typing fingers. You don't need to type and tell me to slow down because I'm not going to. We're going to keep moving along at a, it's a brisk pace, but it's not something that you can't keep up with.
And so don't even bother asking because he says, I'm not going to slow down.
No, I mean, all I see are these little messages, slow down, tell him to slow down. And we've got to keep moving. So just save your fingers. I know I'm going too fast for everyone. So that's, it's not just some of you, it's for everyone that I'm going too fast. All right, so the first thing I want you to do is to divide off your horizon line. And mine was about 2 fat fingers down from the top of the canvas, which is probably maybe 1.75 inches, maybe 2 inches down. And so you just want to put a straight line across your canvas, and you could do that using a pencil. Okay, so I'm going to give you a moment to do that.
Slow down, Andy.
I know, John, we're moving at a lightning pace tonight.
Can't find my pencil.
That would be me. Anytime I would look for something, it is never where I just saw it. So my pencil would not be in front of me, nor would a ruler or a straight edge or anything else.
Your line looks very straight. Do they need like a ruler or can they just freehand that bad boy?
They can probably freehand it. This is a little, it's a little canvas. I did use the, I used a piece of cardboard that I had here just to make a straight line across mine.
Okay.
But let's not let that be the thing that slows us down.
That will not be the thing.
We've got plenty of other things that will slow us down. So don't worry about that little horizon line. And I can tell you that on the most famous water lily paintings in the world, there is no horizon line. There is no sky or water line or anything to orient the viewer as to what you're looking at. So when you are looking at Monet's gigantic water lilies, the view is a combination of an aerial view, so you're looking directly down, and then you're also looking directly at. So it's a two different perspective painting that has no horizon line to give you any sense of orientation. So it's quite an interesting series of paintings. So during tonight's, go ahead, John.
Well, all right. So yeah, I mean, I guess you're getting ready to say this right now because folks are already asking which colors are we laying down?
I'm going to tell them exactly what colors we're using.
Okay, good.
And I am using the FolkArt Pure Artist Pigments. If you do not have those, you're welcome to use any FolkArt acrylics that you want to. And I'm going to tell you the colors I used and try to give you a description of those colors. But if you don't have them, you can use anything you've got that's close to these colors. So the first color I have here on my palette is Viridian. And this is a very dark blue-green color. I have Sap Green, which is an olive green color. And I have Payne's Gray, which is a blue-black color that is not black at all. It looks like solid black, but when you brush some of this out, it's a very blue color. So it's much softer than black. Black will overtake a painting very quickly, and Payne's Gray will let you have dark color, but it doesn't create like this void in your painting. Okay, so those are the three colors that we have, and we are going to use a large brush tonight. I'm using a 1-inch flat brush, so hopefully you have something that's relatively large like that. If you try to use a smaller brush, you will spend a lot of time painting little tiny bits, and that's not necessary. A big brush, you can cover ground a lot quicker. All right, so we're going to start here at the top part of our canvas, and we are going to paint kind of the background of this, which, if you notice, is also the same color as our water. So our background behind our little trees here on the shore, the same color as the water. So I'm going to pick up some Viridian on my brush, and I'm picking up a fair amount of paint, and I'm also going to pick up some Payne's Gray and just mix the Viridian and Payne's Gray here on my palette. And we're just going to paint this on right down to that little line. And I'm just not using any particular brush stroke. I'm just wanting to get some dark color here on the canvas.
So about equal parts, 1 to 1.
Yeah,
okay.
That's pretty good. I'm brush mixing every time. So each time I pick up paint and put it on my canvas, the color is going to be just a little bit different, and that's a good thing.
Okay.
All right, and now I'm turning my brush stroke direction around so that I'm stroking from the top of the canvas down to my little division line. And I'm just smoothing this paint out. Some of it gets down into my water area, that's okay. But this is what we're looking for. Super, super dark, kind of a blue-green color with some mysterious black areas in it. And those are not black areas, they're Payne's Gray areas, but they're going to look really dark. All right, yes, no water. I don't use very much water when I paint. It's not going to hurt your painting, it's not going to hurt your brushes. If I think you need to put water on your brush or on your canvas, I will definitely let you know. All right, so I'm going to give you just another minute to do that. And if you want to, if you don't have a hair dryer or a heat gun close by, if you get this done, you might want to scramble and grab yours. It's always a good idea to have one of those handy so that we can dry different areas of our painting before moving on. So I'm just waiting for you to do that. And then we will begin to paint our water next. So far, nothing difficult, nothing hard.
I love scrolling through the feed here and seeing people painting. It's so fun. I'm glad that people paint along with us in real time. That's great.
Yeah, that's fun. Or if you feel intimidated, you can just enjoy watching me paint, and then you can paint along with the recording, and you can stop the video, catch up, then start the video again. Or if you don't understand something, you can replay the video. So both schools of thought work out well. Mm-hmm. We just want you to be comfortable and not feel any undue pressure. A little pressure is fine, but nothing undue.
That's right. And then Raina just posted something important, so look in the chat. So when you're done with your painting, we'd love to see them. And we definitely look at them. So hashtag Plaid Crafts and hashtag Michael's Classes and hashtag Make It with Michael's. It's right there in the chat. So we encourage you to share that on social media with us so we can see it. We also have on Plaid's Facebook page, within Plaid's Facebook page, there is a group called Let's Paint with Plaid. And we encourage you to join that and share your work there too. So lots of fun. And I'll post links to that a little later as we go.
Okay, terrific. All right, so I'm going to guess that almost everybody is just about done with the upper part of their canvas.
I think so.
All right, they may not be, but that's okay, because we're just going to pretend that they are. And now we're going to paint the lower portion of our canvas, which is going to be the water part of our canvas. So I'm going to pick up Viridian and Payne's Gray, just like we did before. So about equal parts of that and brush mixing. And I'm just turning my canvas a little bit so it's easier for me to do this. And I'm going to just slide my brush right across the canvas, keeping that horizontal line. And then I'm going to begin to pull down from that horizontal line. And see, there's just, let me give a close up here to the camera. There's just a very tiny little bit of some speckles so that you could see where that horizon line is. Okay, so leave yourself a little bit of a cheat. And then I'm just patting the same color on that we had up in the upper part of the canvas. And I'm going to begin to pull this color down, picking up more color as I need it, because I don't want to be struggling to put color on the canvas. I'm stretching it out, but it's giving me good coverage, nice dark color. And then I'm going to pick up some Sap Green and mix that in. And I'm going to begin to make some little vertical pulls of that color. And I'm going to add a little bit more Payne's Gray to this, because I want this to be really dark, murky water. And that's where your water lilies are going to be the brightest and the prettiest, is if you've got some interesting dark color underneath. So a little Sap Green in with this mix, a little Payne's Gray, some Viridian, and we're just stroking this on. And this is going to stay plenty wet, enough for you to make some little vertical pulls and marks. And I'll show it to you up close. Okay, so here we are moving it up close, and did I freeze up?
No, you're good.
There you go. All right, so turning this so you could see it. There you go.
Looks good.
That's what it's going to look like. And then once you've done that, then let's take our hairdryer and blast this until it's as dry as we can get it within a moment or two. Okay, so I'm going to turn this on, and I apologize for the noise in advance.
Looks
Okay.
like everybody is doing okay with their painting. I can see a few people.
Okay, it's it doesn't really look like much. It just looks like a very dark. Okay, what should I do if I don't have any hair dryer? You can fan it like crazy, but a hair dryer is really going to be the thing to help, because we do need to have this a little bit dry. All right, so I did leave a little bit of some white showing there, just so I know where my horizon line or my dividing line is. Okay, so I'm going to put out a couple of other colors on my palette now. I'm going to put out a little bit of medium yellow. I'm going to put out a little yellow light.
Okay.
And I'm going to put out a little bit of titanium white. And I'm just setting my big 1-inch brush to the side. I'm not rinsing it out in water. I think it's going to be just fine while we do our next steps.
So let's go through it one more time. Medium yellow.
Medium yellow, yellow
yeah.
light, and titanium white. Okay, and I'm going to clean the white off of my hands and off of the bottle. Try to always have a tidy area when you paint. It just makes everything so much better if you're not getting paint all over everything. You want to keep your paint on your canvas. All right, so we are now going to begin to build these little trees here in the background area. So we're going to do them in basically 3 little steps. So the first step, I'm going to take some Viridian and I'm going to add a little medium yellow to my Viridian, making a lighter green color. And I'm
What
going to
size
brighten
brush are you using, Andy?
I'm using a number 12 flat brush, but
Okay.
you could use just a not a tiny brush, but something smaller than a 1-inch brush. All right, so I'm just making a kind of a darkish green color. Don't want it to be too bright just yet. So I'm going to just test this color on my canvas, and I'm going to hold the handle of my brush straight up toward the ceiling, and I'm going to dab just a little bit right next to that horizon line. And that color that I just dabbed on there, let me show it to you up close. Whoop, there you go. You can see that green color on there that looks like lime green. That is way too bright right now. So I'm going to add some more Viridian to this so that my color is much darker. Trying to think, this is almost going to be like a banana leaf green. So those of you who know what a banana leaf color looks like, that's basically what we want. Something that is going to be lighter than the green we have on our background, but that isn't going to jump out. So I'm just continuing to tap right along that horizon line from one edge of the canvas to the other. And now with that same banana leaf green, I'm going to create like 2 little clumps of trees. So I'm going to start dabbing using the corner of my brush, and I'm going to dab to the left and dab to the right. And I'm just kind of rolling my brush as I dab back and forth. And I'm creating a little cluster of small trees. And I'm more concerned about the outside edges being irregular and not looking like some lollipop tree. Okay, just a nice little irregular shape of tree. And then I'm coming over here and I'm going to do the same thing over here, perhaps a little bit smaller, just rolling my brush as I'm dabbing primarily on the corners. And I haven't stopped to pick up more paint. So every now and then I'll get a little bit bigger dab, and others I'll have a smaller dab. But you just want to really concern yourself with the outside shape of these so that they are pleasing, because as the poet Keats said, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. All right, so there we go. We have 1 layer of trees on, and I'm going to show you that up close.
Yeah.
So you can see what we're doing. And my camera seems to stall a little bit.
Yeah, that's it. That's
okay.
Good. We can see.
All right, so you could see those 2 little bits of trees there. The outside edges are irregular. There's some holes in there. It's not a solid mass of this color green. All right, I'm going to give you a minute to do that. So it's at this point when you should be hearing the music from The Wizard of Oz, where the witch is riding the bicycle by. I'm sorry?
That was it.
Okay.
We were singing together.
Oh, okay. All right, so tonight I am determined to give you a little bit of the history of Monet's water lily paintings. Many of you have seen photographs of them. They are bigger than you think. They are about, if you stretched all 8 paintings end to end, they are more than 300 feet long. It is a massive size painting. It is actually more than 2,000 square feet of painting that he did. And he did not want to do these paintings at all. He had figured about 13 years before he started his water lilies. He started them in 1914, and he had basically retired from painting, and he had cataracts and was not in the best frame of mind. The World War I was going on, and his good friend, George Clemenceau, who, if you know history, George Clemenceau was one of the diplomats who negotiated the Treaty of Versailles. So bigwig diplomat, but also one of Monet's longest and best friends, convinced him to paint these water lilies, and they were kind of Monet's response to the horrors of war. So they worked, Clemenceau and Monet worked with the architect to design a building called the Orangerie, and that's my horrible French pronunciation of that. And the Orangerie is footsteps away from the Louvre in Paris. So while the queue for the Louvre is miles down the sidewalk and around the building, the line for the Orangerie is usually not that long. And it's the water lilies are in the basement of it. It's nice and cool in there. So if you've been to Paris in the summer, it's a great place to get out of the sun and see amazing artwork. And these paintings, I mean, the building was designed specifically for these 8 canvases. Downstairs, there are 2 oval-shaped rooms, and the light comes in from above, from outside, and it's filtered in, and it's spectacular. These paintings are, you just are immersed in them, and it's quite something to see. And we're going to paint some more trees right now, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about the water lilies. All right, so we did our trees in the background. So we started with some Viridian, a little medium yellow, a little tiny bit of yellow light, and we're using that same mixture again, except this time I want a little bit more yellow light.
Andy, here's a good question. Somebody said, Jane said, my trees got darker and almost blended in when I used the hair dryer.
Okay, well,
any tips? Should she lighten those up?
No, we're about to do something else. So I'm going to dab on another layer of green, and you can see here that this layer of green is a lighter shade, lighter color green. It's not completely covering my first layer of green on here. And it's applied in the same way. Dab, dab, dab on the corner of the brush, roll that brush around, dab some more on the other corner, dab, dab, dab. Pick up a little bit more paint if you need it.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you these up close. And you can see that these trees are a little lighter and a little smaller.
And you just did that by adding in some yellow light? Is that what it was?
A little more yellow light. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. So if you were to dry these with the hairdryer and they disappear, you can add a little more yellow light to it and dab them on again. But I'm going to give you a moment to do those lighter trees. While I tell you a little bit more about the water lilies in Paris, they were installed in 1927, and they were greeted with a less than enthusiastic response. In the late 1800s, Monet's Impression Sunrise was rejected by the official Paris salon. So he and some of his friends had the Salon of the Refused. It was a group showing of the Impressionist work, and they were wildly criticized for being too avant-garde and just too outside social norms with their paintings. So at the end of his career, he was accused of being too old-fashioned and too not being kind of cutting edge, not being avant-garde anymore. So criticized when he started, criticized at the end of his life. The man just could not catch a break. But now those water lilies are universally considered some of the most popular and important artworks in the world today. I mean, they are, I cannot begin to tell you how incredibly stunning they are in person. All right, so we've done our second layer of trees.
Can you hold it up close for people? Because just a couple of people need to see a good close-up. So still very loose, just a second layer with a lighter green.
And we're about to do the third layer of even lighter green. And somebody's saying, where are they at his painting?
They were asking about where you were talking about in Paris again.
It's just outside the Louvre in a little kind of tan sandstone building called the Orangerie. And it is, I mean, nothing outside of it is like really advertising that that's where the water lily paintings are. But it's definitely worth a trip. I wish I could take you all to Paris and show you some of the lesser known joys that are there. All right, so here we go. Lighter color green. If it's not looking light enough, you can add a little bit more yellow. I just checked mine and wanted to add a little bit brighter green. So again, dab, dab, dab on the corner of the brush. Each lighter layer is smaller, so it's going to take you less time to put that on there. So here we go over here. Dab, 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 lighter, lighter, lighter. Not lollipop tree shapes. There we go. And so we have painted some French shrubs now.
Perfect.
There you go.
That's great. We got a nice, good view of that.
Okay, terrific. All right, so I'm going to now wipe my number 12 brush off. Well, I'm going to give you a moment to put that lighter layer of green on. And then you're going to wipe your brush off, but do not clean it in water. The last time I was in Paris, I wish I had known more about the Orangerie and the paintings of the water lilies. I did take my family there to see them, and some of the family was impressed and some of the family was ready to go eat, which was the way everything was on our trip. Someone wanted to see a historic monument and somebody else was ready to go sit down and have some food.
Amanda thinks there should be a Plaid Crafts field trip to Paris when it's over, a painting trip.
I think Plaid Crafts trip to Paris would be a phenomenal thing to do.
Okay.
The last time I was there, I had to play tour guide, and so one of the things was the little boat trip down the river through the heart of Paris, and that's a very touristy thing to do. But you do get to see Paris from a different view. It's spectacular. So we decided to do that, and of course it was Bastille Day, worst day to be in Paris. That's like being in Washington, D.C. on the 4th of July. Just too much going on. But we were on the river, and then of course there's a log jam of all the tourist boats there, but they were all stopped to see the illumination of the Eiffel Tower, which you could see perfectly from the boat. And because everything was log jammed up there, we got to watch the whole Eiffel Tower lit up beautifully for a good long time because our boat couldn't go anywhere. So I was like the best tour guide ever.
Good place to be in a traffic jam.
Exactly. All right, so I'm going to take some Viridian and medium yellow and a little yellow light on my brush. This is probably going to be the color about the second layer of the little trees that we just put on the the shrubs that we just put on. So what we're going to do now is take that green color, and you don't want it to be too bright. You want it to be lighter than the water, and we're just going to begin. And if you want to, it may be easier to turn your painting upside down. And what we're going to do is we're just going to loosely reflect our trees into the water. So I'm doing a mirror image of what we just did at the top of the canvas. So
Cool.
Rolling my brush around, tap, 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 dab, 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 corner of the brush. Nice, loose edges, not too much paint. Can pick
And
up
you
some more
darkened it up just a little bit from the lightest of the green. You darkened it back up by doing what? What did you do there?
Just picked up some more Viridian. So
Just
this is
add a little more
basically,
Viridian there. Okay.
so
great.
it's almost the color of the second layer that we put on. And it doesn't have to be exactly the same shape. If you could get it exactly the same, that would probably be a miracle. So you just want to kind of recreate the loose shape of the trees that are reflected in the water.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to turn this back right side up, and I'm going to show you up close what my reflected trees look like. And my camera seems to be frozen.
No, it worked.
Okay, because I didn't see anything on my monitor.
Oh.
Okay, well, I'll just try it again. So can you let me know if that's working,
Yeah,
John?
that's good. Yep, we can see it.
Just try one thing. Okay,
Yeah,
that's still frozen, but that's okay.
You want to be on speaker view on your monitor. Do you want me?
Yeah, nothing's moving on my monitor.
Oh,
No,
all right.
I can't see the overhead's not moving, and nobody that's on the grid view is
Oh,
moving.
well, you're frozen up, but you're doing fine. We can see.
Okay,
This is great.
All right. So we can now see we've got our trees reflected into the water. All right, so what we're going to do now, I am going to put out a little bit of Prussian Blue, which is a very, very dark, intense blue color that has a little bit of a green cast to it. And I'm going to take that same brush that just had the tree color on it, and I'm going to pick up some Prussian Blue. So it might have a little bit of green still in the brush, because I didn't do anything but just wipe it out a little bit. And I'm picking up a little bit of white. And I'm just going to pick up some green here. So my brush, I'm basically making a light blue color that looks a little bit aqua, because it's got just a little tiny bit of green in it. Not too bright. All right, so here we go. I'm going to lay my brush down on my canvas. I'm not going to apply any pressure, and I'm just going to pull horizontally across the canvas. If nothing's showing up, I'm going to load my brush again, lay the brush down very parallel to the surface, and kind of drag some of this across. I'm going to do the same thing down here, just not starting quite at the edge of the canvas. Okay, now my entire thing just went away. I'm reconnecting. Sorry to tell everybody what's going on, but
I can come look at your screen, but you're connected. You're doing great.
okay.
So you made this with Prussian Blue, a little bit of white, and then a touch of the green. Yeah.
Oh, now I'm back to working. Okay. All right. It's just strange not to see what you're doing. All right. So I'm going to pull a little bit from the other side of the canvas. Basically, what I'm putting on here now, these are just a little bit of ripple on the water, and this helps to break up the reflection of our trees. So I've added a little bit more white to this, and I'm just stroking this on. But when I'll show you up close and personal, and you can see that there's not that much paint coming off of the brush. You can still clearly see the weave of the canvas. All right, so here we go. There is our detail shot.
Yeah.
All right, so you could see how I just dragged a little bit of that blue color across. Don't have it too bright, because our water is kind of shadowy. and we don't want anything to be too bright and distracting. Okay. All right, so if my monitor would cooperate more with me, I could then see what we're doing, but no worries. We are about to paint some water lilies. So I'm going to be using a number 8 filbert brush, and a filbert brush, it's shaped like a flat brush, except it doesn't have any corners on it. The corners are all rounded off. So sometimes people will call this a cat's tongue brush, but it's a filbert brush. And what we're going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and make this easy for everyone. I'm going to take my palette knife and I'm going to make a green color with some Viridian and a little Sap Green, a little yellow light here. And so I'm just making a nice light color. I want this to be a little bit darker than lime green. So just keep adding a little bit of yellow to your mixture here. And I'm just going to add a little bit of water just to help soften this paint a little bit. And I know for many people, that's a shocking thing for me to do, but it is going to help a little bit here. So just add a little bit of water just to help soften this paint up. And that's going to help us stroke on our water lilies a little bit easier. Okay, so with the help of our little filbert brush, I'm going to pick up some of my green color, and we're going to paint half a water lily at a time. Okay, so I'm going to set my filbert brush down, and this is a mixture of Viridian, Sap Green, and yellow light. Makes a nice light green color, and I'm going to touch my brush down and pull. And you can see I have 1/2 of my water lily painted. And if I turn my canvas a little bit and pull from the other direction, I have a little oval water lily painted. Okay, so isn't that easy to do?
Yeah.
So,
can you just run through those colors again, how you made that green?
Sure, it is Viridian plus Sap Green plus yellow light.
So those first 2 colors that he used up top,
Yes.
and then a little bit
The
of
yellow
sap,
light.
little yellow light to light that up.
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to put another water lily on. I'm going to touch my brush down and pull halfway across, turn, and put my brush down and come back the other way, just creating these little ovals. Let's not overthink these or try to make these any harder than you have to. You're just creating little oval shapes, and they don't have to be in any particular space. You just don't want them all lined up. So I'm just going to start doing a few across my painting, and I'm just painting 1/2 of these water lilies. And by 1/2, I mean 1/2 of each individual lily pad. Then I'm going to turn my canvas around and pull back from the other direction. And I'm just painting little oval shapes.
When you get a sec, can you give us a good close-up on those, Andy?
Sure thing, I can do that right now. So they're just little oval shapes painted with the filbert brush. Pull halfway across one direction, then turn your canvas and come back and do halfway across the other direction. And I don't know how many lilies I'm going to paint, but I'm just going to start putting them on. Some of them can be close together, some of them can be spaced a little further apart. But you just want to put a pleasing number on. And don't overthink this. It's just a little oval shape. We're not trying to do something that's difficult here. We'll do something difficult in just a minute, but not right now. Actually, we're not going to do anything difficult tonight. No matter what I'm teaching, from the simplest thing to something that's more complex, everything is doable because we do it in incremental steps, and each step is easy to tackle by itself. So you don't have to try to do all of this all at once. You do this the same way you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. And I'm not advocating eating of elephants. All right, so I've got a nice number of these lily pads on here now. And so I'm going to take my hairdryer and I'm going to give these a quick dry so that we can do one more step on them. So apologies for the hairdryer noise. Okay, I'm going to take my number 12 flat brush and I'm rinsing it out in water. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to move a little bit of my Viridian to a clean spot here on my palette so you could see what I'm doing. My brush is damp with water. I've blotted it on my shop towel and I'm going to slide 1/2 of the brush into some Viridian and I'm going to soften that color on my palette so that I have strong color on 1/2 of the brush and it's fading across to nothing on the other half of the brush. Okay? All right, so I'm going to shade the right-hand side of my lily pads. So I'm just going to put this color on and pat it across the right side of my lily pad. And if some of this gets off the lily pad, that's okay, because our water, the water we painted earlier is very, very dark. So the Viridian's not going to show up if we get some off of our lily pad. So I can do this really quickly, just pat, pat, pat this little bit of dark color on my lily pads. And this adds just a nice little bit of shading on them. Some of them will have a little more Viridian than others, and that makes it more visually interesting. You can see I'm just doing this on there pretty quickly, just patting this on the right side of the lily pad. And I'm going to show you this real quick, and then I'm going to make sure to give you a moment to do this. But we're not going to take too long. Okay, so I'm going to give you a close-up of my shaded water lily pads. Any frog would be proud to sit on those little lily pads. Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Again, it's not difficult. It's going to take you a minute, so I'm going to give you a little bit of time to do that.
That technique, Andy, maybe you could explain that for people who've not done that before, because I've seen you in other classes do that, how you're just loading half of your brush.
Yes, I will talk them through it again, or I'll show them again. It's called side loading or floated color. So my brush is damp, but there's not really any color in it. And so I'm going to set my brush next to the puddle of paint, and I'm just going to slide the brush partially into that puddle of paint. Then on the palette, I'm going to make several little pulls. And this will distribute the color across the brush so that you have a strong color on one edge and then it fades across the brush.
So when you go to the other side, you're flipping the brush over so that you're always,
the dark is to the center of my little
dark
pull.
is to the center.
Yeah. It is so good that you're picking up on all of these painting terms, John.
Well, I don't know the terms, but I've seen you do it enough times that I feel like we should point it out to folks.
Yeah, I remember your first painting class with me.
Yeah, that's right.
And I thought your reaction to that was fantastic.
Thank
when
you.
you
I'm no
said,
painter for you people out there, and he was able to get a decent looking painting out of me. So if I can do it, y'all can do it for sure.
exactly. I mean, anybody who really wants to learn how to paint can learn how to paint. I can't give you the desire to do it, but if you want to learn how, I can give you all of the ammunition to do a good job of painting.
And you know what? This is actually a great time while people are catching up and shading their lily pads. If you like this stuff, the way that Andy's teaching, and you want a deeper dive into more technique-y stuff, not just let's make a painting each time, he does what we call lunch and learn every Tuesday and Thursday
Yes,
in the Plaid Let's Paint with Plaid Facebook group. And he takes a deep dive on stuff like this, side
yes,
loading and color theory and all kinds of different things that will help you become a better painter. So I encourage you to join that. It's absolutely free. It's on Facebook, and they're all recorded, by the way, so you can go back and see any of them.
yes. I would say there are probably hundreds of hours of
There are,
video
yes,
lessons that are there.
a gazillion.
Yeah,
So
it's worth your while to join our Facebook group and to do a little exploring as to what is there, because it is the best online art education that you cannot buy.
I think, what time do you go, Andy? Is it 11 or?
We're at noon
Noon?
every day, every Tuesday and Thursday at noon Eastern time.
At noon Eastern time, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And in the group, there's this little thing called units, I believe, and that's where
It's
the
called
classrooms
guides
are.
now.
Oh, well, guides. Okay.
Yes, I mean you have to keep up with changing Facebook things. So
But
guides is the new units.
12
Right, so
noon Tuesdays and Thursdays Eastern. Okay, let's
yes,
get back to the class.
we are back to the class. So I am taking some yellow light, and I'm going to add some of my light green color that I made to my yellow light. So that's instantly going to give me a much lighter yellow color. And I'm going to soften this by adding a little bit of water to it. And I'm just mixing that in with my palette knife just to help soften the paint. The FolkArt Pure Artist Pigments are a very, very heavy-bodied acrylic. So you can do a huge range of techniques with them. You can all do impasto work with very heavily textured effects, or you can thin it down and do other kinds of paintings with it, even thinning it down to almost a watercolor consistency. So full range of artistic techniques can be done with the FolkArt Artist Pigments, but I just wanted to soften that paint a little bit so that I can paint some light lily pads. So again, using my number 8 filbert brush and some of my lighter green color, I'm going to paint some more lily pads. I'm not going to paint as many of them, but they're going to kind of be scattered in between. And they can actually go on top of some of the other water lilies. So I'm just going to stroke these on the exact same way, stroking from one side. And then because I thinned this with water, the color's a little bit transparent, but I'm not going to let that worry me yet. I'm going to come back and put a second coat on this, just adding some of these lighter lily pads in between and some on top. Then I'm going to turn my canvas around and paint the other side of them. And I'm letting this little filbert brush do all of the heavy lifting for me. So instead of me trying to paint an oval shape, a couple of little strokes with the filbert brush and the work is done. Okay, so I'm going to quickly dry these, and then we're going to put a second coat on them. Sorry about that hair dryer noise.
Well, Zoom actually does a great job of blocking that out. It's amazing. It knows it's not supposed to
Oh, okay.
blast everyone. So it's
Very good.
quiet. Yeah.
All right. So I'm just putting a second quick coat on the lighter water lilies, or the lily pads. Actually, we haven't painted our water lilies yet. These are just the lily pads. We're doing pretty good for time tonight. And I know everybody's feeling like have been racing to beat the clock all night long. Sorry about that. But that is the price we pay to get a painting done in just about an hour.
You've been giving people plenty of time. This is good.
Oh
There's
yeah.
not been a lot of slowdowns in the chat. Believe me, there usually is more.
They were told not to do that.
No, that's true. You scared everyone.
I'm not that scary a teacher, but I know it just doesn't change the pace that I have to teach at. So I thought I would just save people the trouble of telling me to do that.
And Raina has just posted the location where all of these past Michael's classes are. So for this one here, if you did get behind and you want to go back, you all can follow that. And
somebody's wanting to see this up
close. Someone wants to see it up close.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to put a couple of new colors out on my palette. I'm going to put out some Dioxazine Purple, and you probably don't even need a chocolate chip of that color. And I'm going to put out a little bit of Napthol Crimson, which is a red color. And you probably are not even going to need a chocolate chip of that color either. All of my references are food references. Sorry, folks. But usually if I say to put out something that's like a chocolate chip size dab of paint, they understand, or a Hershey's Kiss size dab of paint, they get that. All right, so I'm going to take some titanium white, and I'm going to add a little tiny bit of Napthol Crimson to this to make a pink color. And this pink color can be sweetheart pink, it can be a darker pink. This is up to you. I just think to make a nice light pink color is just all we're really after. And then I'm going to take some white, and I'm going to add a little dab of Dioxazine Purple to this and make a lavender or violet color that's not too dark. That Dioxazine Purple is such an intense, beautiful, beautiful purple color. And it doesn't take very much to turn a puddle of white into a puddle of purple. So go easy with it. Okay, so if you haven't already guessed, I have just made my water lily colors. All right, so I'm going to take my little number 8 filbert brush, and I'm going to pick up some pink, and because I had the green in my brush, I'm just going to wipe that color out, lay the brush on my shop towel, fold the shop towel over the brush, and pinch the bristles, and that will help pull that green color out. Maybe do it twice. All right, so now I've cleaned out my brush with paint, and I'm going to pick up a little pink, and I'm going to use the edge of my filbert brush, and I'm going to dab, 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 kind of like a little crown shape. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to dab, dab, dab a little crown shape.
He'll give you guys a close-up, don't worry, because I know that's coming.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do a few of these so that you can see the crown is a little flatter on the bottom and a little bit splayed out on the top. So sorry about that monkey cam action there. There you go. Okay.
Just so like little crowns, like you said.
Yep, I'm going to put a few of those on. Not going to put them everywhere. Try to space them out a little bit. Make an interesting arrangement of them. Okay, so there are my pink water lilies. Doesn't take much for those. And I'm going to wipe my brush out, and I'm going to pick up my purple color, and I'm going to dab, dab, dab some of this purple color on. My purple color is not showing up, so I'm going to add a little bit more Dioxazine Purple to my puddle, just a tiny bit, just to make the purple a little stronger. And I'm going to dab, dab, dab a little purple over here on the right-hand side of my lilies. A few little dabs is all it's going to take. But it makes a big difference. So here we go. I'm not sure if you could see that. Is that on? There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so you could see that they're now pink and purple. Far more interesting than when they were just solid pink.
And they're darker on the same side as the pads are darker on the same side. So it would be a,
yes,
a light and shadow
Don.
thing, correct?
Yes, thank you for noticing.
Well, you know.
That is exactly what we were aiming for.
There we go. Just
okay, we got
Captain Obvious over here, just pointing things out for everyone, just in case.
That's okay. We've got 2 more things to do before we can call this a night. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Payne's Gray on my number 12 flat brush, and I'm going to just come back to where we started, and I'm going to tap, tap, tap some Payne's Gray on between my trees and my water. Just tap, 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 going straight across. This will help fill in any of those little areas that had a little bit of a light gap there, because we don't want that. And it's just establishing the very edge of our landmass, separating it from our water. Just using the edge of my brush, just tap, 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 tap. And we have created that dark horizon line. You can see how nicely that separates underneath those trees, separates them from their reflection.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to show you the last fun thing that I love to do on a canvas like this. I am going to use some FolkArt Treasure Gold. There we are. FolkArt Treasure Gold is the most gold acrylic paint that's available on the market. It is not only metallic, it is virtually reflective. And this, if you have not played with Treasure Gold, you need to get to your Michaels store immediately and pick up a bottle of it and give it a try. It is spectacular.
And there are several golds to choose from, as well as other jewel tone shades. So it's really a beautiful paint.
I am using, tonight, I am using the gold color of Treasure Gold. I know that seems strange, but this is Treasure Gold Gold. All right, and what I like to do is, you could paint the edge of your canvas with the gold, but I also like to do a little bit of what I like to think of as like a bezel of kind of ragged gold right around the edge of my canvas. And I'm going to show you how I do that. All right, so I take a big brush, like a 1-inch flat brush, and I load it with Treasure Gold. And then I use this part, trying to get this where you could see it. I use the middle part of the flat side of the brush. And I simply take that's got plenty of treasure gold on it, and I tap and dab this on, and by the angle that I change my brush will make the deposit of gold either larger or smaller. So you could see, that's just not going to show you, is that?
Yep, we got it.
There you go. Okay. So I love to do this on a canvas. If you've got a gallery wrap canvas or some canvas that's stapled on the back edge so that you don't absolutely have to put a frame on it, this technique just gives you a nice irregular edge. And I think it's prettier than trying to paint a straight stripe around the edge, which never looks really good unless you are one of those few people who can do it perfectly. This kind of, I like to call it casual. Some people would say it's kind of messy, but the term casual seems to make me feel better about it. This casual gold edge, I think, is just a perfect little way to set off this canvas. So I'm going to try to hold it up close enough for you to see that little gold edge that I put around there. And it's not really a frame. It just finishes this canvas off in the most beautiful way.
If only Monet had access to treasure gold, just think what he could have done.
I know, he probably would have been a bigger and better artist than he was.
He would have been famous.
Yes.
Only.
But so that is our little water lily painting. Let me hold this up so you can see. I did finish my painting by applying a gloss varnish to it. I think the gloss varnish really brings out the color of the painting, and it seals and protects your painting from day-to-day wear. So I encourage all of you to varnish your painting. That is the way you finish your painting. And so that is my little homage to Claude Monet's water lily. So I hope you enjoyed the painting and the little history lesson. There's always more to a painting than just what goes on the canvas. So once again, I invite you to join the Let's Paint with Plaid Facebook group. You just request to join it. And then when you paint your pictures, you can hashtag Let's Paint Challenge, all one word, no apostrophe. And you can hashtag Plaid Crafts. And I think the other hashtag, John, is it Make It with Michaels?
It is. And
okay.
And also Michael's classes, I believe, right, Raina? Correct? Yes.
Okay, very good.
He just posted it in the chat.
Okay, lots of hashtags to use.
Lots to do.
Yes, but I think it's I'd love to see what you all do, because the only thing I'm looking at while we're doing this class is I try to look at the overhead view so that I can see what you're seeing. So it's always fun for me to see what you all have painted in just about an hour.
Well, everybody is chiming in how much they enjoyed it. So we enjoyed having you, and it was a lot of fun.
Okay, tonight, let me show you what we're doing next week.
That's right. So Kirsten is back joining us next week as our teacher, and this is going to be a pretty spectacular painting.
Yes.
Maybe do the front. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, sorry.
So we're about to fake her out. Okay. I guess keep it on the overhead. Yeah. There we go.
There we go. So this is a beautiful painting that Kirsten did, and you are going to love doing this with her. She is so fun and so easygoing in her classes, and you're just going to love doing this little Bohemian peacock with her.
Yes.
So that's next week.
Yeah.
And then I will be back next month, and I'm doing a vase of tulips. So something a little bit different, a little bigger than this. It'll be a 9 by 12, and we'll still get it done in about an hour. Mm-hmm. And you all will still think I'm doing it too fast.
No, so everybody did great tonight on keeping up. I think the smaller canvas is helpful, because sometimes these big canvases, just the base coating takes so long.
Yes, well, we're gonna tackle it next month, and everybody's gonna do a great job. And I just want to commend all of you who are taking these classes and painting along. My hat's off to you. You all do a great job doing these paintings in just about an hour. So kudos to you all.
Yes. Okay. So that will wrap us up for tonight. We so appreciate having you. We look forward to seeing you here every Monday night. And as we've been talking about, look forward to seeing you over on Plaid's social channels as well. Please continue to support this Michael's program because it's an amazing program and we're excited to be part of it. So that's it for tonight. And we will see you guys next week.
Okay. Take care, everybody.